10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but all of a sudden my stuff just completely crapped out on me. That was, I don't know why my intro is just not working at the moment. I don't know what just happened there, guys. I really don't. All of a sudden my StreamYard is just completely done. That threw me off. Sorry. Apologies for the crappy opening for today's chat, because I don't know what happened. Now I want to know what happened. It won't let me click on things. It's not letting me scroll through all my stuff, which is weird. I'm very confused. I'm very, very confused. Anyway. All right. Sorry. That threw me off, dude. That threw me the fuck off. Like, I'm used to doing my you know, you get in a routine and you do specific things at specific times, and you're like, all right, I'm going to hit this button and this button and this button. And then nothing. Then it doesn't work the way you wanted to. And you're like, what the shit is going on here? And I apologize profusely for allowing that to throw me off the beginning of the chat. But anyway, what are you doing, guys? How's everybody doing today? Yes, I'm doing the chat later than normal because I just wanted to. I wanted to tonight. I don't have to go to work in the morning. So why not go ahead and do a later chat? So yeah, that's pretty much as much thought as I put into it. Sorry. Still thrown off by everything. So we are here, and we're going to talk about a few things today. And I'll probably be doing, like, the main topic of tonight is left versus right-wing terrorism, political violence, that kind of thing. Something obviously we've been discussing a lot tonight. That does not mean we won't have other topics to go over. Okay? So feel free to you know, I don't know, talk about stuff and things. And I feel like my camera's off today. Maybe it's just one of those days where everything's going to be off, but that's okay. I'm going to kick back a little bit here whilst I talk to you guys. But yeah, that's what we're doing today. So how's everybody doing? Everybody ready for a good weekend? Yeah? We good? I hope so. Hope everybody's doing well. Oh, one thing I do want to get with you guys on, because I'm always curious what you guys think. How's everybody feeling about the new videos on the channel? Everybody okay with that? I mean, if you're not, chances are I'm not really going to change it. Just because the way I've been doing videos is the easiest way for me to put videos out, which is just to record them and upload them and do everything from my phone while I'm doing other things. So, and it allows me the time. I'm not having to. I mean, I think that was one of the things that kept me from doing videos for a long time. Is it just with YouTube, essentially putting me, because my channel is restricted, as you guys know. We've talked about this before. My channel's been restricted since was it 2020? I can't remember when it officially got restricted, which basically just means that like it doesn't show up in everybody's feed. Even if you're subscribed to me, it doesn't show up in your feed, and it doesn't get recommended and all that kind of stuff because they don't like the stuff that I say and stuff that I talk about. A lot of it's guns, a lot of it's politics, that kind of thing. So, you know, when that happened, it kind of just made me feel like, why am I putting effort into videos? I'd rather do live chats. So that's when I started doing live chats a lot more, kind of filtered the videos out. But doing videos the way I'm doing them now, where it's just quick and easy and doesn't take me long. I'm uploading them from my phone while I'm doing other stuff. I'm recording them on my phone. The thumbnails I'm using, I'm not editing those. I'm not putting any real time or effort into them. I'm using a program that will basically just auto generate a picture for you. So you tell it what you want it to look like, and it just will auto generate like a CGI image, which is kind of a cheap hook ass way to do thumbnails, but it works. So that's where I got the thumbnail for tonight's chat. It was just a CGI image. I just told it, show me a blue-haired, black-clad, masked person yelling at just a regular dude. And it printed that picture for me. So it was pretty cool. So yeah, so as long as you guys are cool with it, like I said, I don't have the time to put more effort than that into the videos, to be honest with you guys. But I do want to do videos. I've been talking about doing more videos for a long time. And this is the easiest way for me to do it. So, you know, hopefully you guys are down with the cheap ass half the time talking from my car videos, because honestly, that's probably the only way it's going to happen anytime soon. So hopefully you guys are doing good. What's up, Clover Tech? So anyway, all right. So let's get into tonight's discussion, shall we? So obviously, with everything going on in the United States right now, and that's all we're going to discuss. We're not talking about anything else. I don't, at the moment, give a shit about Europe and England and all these other fucking places, and they all have their own issues and problems. My primary concern is what things are going on in the United States of America. And obviously, in the last few weeks, there's been a lot going on, and a lot of people having the discussion of whether or not right-wing or left-wing terrorism is a bigger issue. And by terrorism, okay, doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of terrorism. It's certainly, the things we've been seeing and experiencing are 100% the textbook definition of terrorism. Okay? Which is, you know, acts of violence and intimidation to push for certain outcomes and things like that. Hello, Jolly.
Hello. Here, let me fix my audio real quick. I'm in my car again.
Okay. So, but yeah, I think a lot of the stuff we're seeing is certainly, like the Charlie Kirk assassination is definitely an act of terrorism, because it was an act of violence that was partaken in to push a political agenda, right? So it definitely does fit the textbook definition of terrorism. But then there's other things that wouldn't necessarily be terrorism, i.e. the killing on the train was it a week before Charlie Kirk, I believe?
About a week.
Yeah, about a week, give or take. That wouldn't technically be terrorism, but it would be, I think, ideological violence, without a doubt. I mean, you know. So I guess it depends on what your definition of quote-unquote terrorism is, but we're in general, what we're talking about is left-wing versus right-wing politically motivated violence, okay? And there's been so much discussion about it. since Charlie Kirk, that I thought we'd take a minute to kind of examine some of the things that have happened, and because I, along with I'm sure everyone else, keeps hearing about, oh, this study this study that, and apparently all the studies say that right-wing violence is way more common and way more likely than left-wing violence, right? And I mean, if it's true, it's true. And I won't defend right-wing violence or left-wing violence or libertarian violence or whatever the fuck it is, right? Like, none of it is acceptable. And if it's true, it's true. But the fact of the matter is, when you sit there and you have, I don't know, this, I mean, I think a little thing called a fucking brain. You look around and you see what's been going on, specifically in about the last 10 years. And then you hear people say, oh, right-wing violence is far more prevalent. And you go, yeah, that doesn't seem right to me. And especially in the day and age where anything that can even be, even if it's not true, but can even be insinuated that it's right-wing, gets blasted all over the media, right? You would think if it really was the case, then we would know about it. And you would absolutely be able to sit down and name, I don't know, 10, 5, 1 act of right-wing violence off the top of your head. And to be honest, the only one I can think of is the Dylan Roof shooting. That's the only one I can think of, and I'm sure I'm missing some, because without a doubt there's been more than that, right? I mean, there certainly has been more than that in the last 10 years. But that's the only one like I can think of off the top of my head that is clear, you know, quote unquote right-wing violence, at least right-wing violence according to you know, whatever current modern political definitions are. So why can't I think of more of them if they're so prevalent?
Well, here's what I think it is. I bet you, similar to how, you know, you look at, or the media, how, whatever groups you want to say, look at gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
We all know 90% of gun violence is gang-related shootings, you know. Yeah. It's turf wars, or it's random, you know, petty, you know, smaller crimes. It is not mass shootings, but it's the mass shootings that make the news. I think a similar thing is that a lot of like neo-Nazi, white supremacist groups who are very prominent in like prisons, you know, disenfranchised areas. That is your like slow churn of like, there is constant quote unquote right-wing extremist violence, because that they are a, you know, a hate, however you want to define that, hate group, whatever, that they're operating in. Those kind of groups don't exist as much on the left in the same way. Like,
well, no, you're absolutely right. And we're going to get into that, because prison violence is a topic we're going to get into, because I've got some studies and some things pulled up here that we're going to go into. And it does, there are aspects that play into exactly what you're saying. Yeah. But like, okay, so I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think, okay, because I'm trying to be rational. I don't want to come off as a partisan, because I'm not. I mean, I politically, I do lean right, but I'm not a Republican. I'm not a conservative, right? I do lean right because of gun rights, and I am anti-abortion because I do think it is killing human beings, not because of some religious thing, but because I have a brain and have researched actual science that shows, yeah, it's a fucking human being. And I think that's awful that we're killing human beings just because we think they're lesser than us. So we think we have the right to do that. And then generally speaking, I would say I lean right when it comes to like economic issues, as far as like lower taxes and keeping the government out of your business. Although nowadays that's not necessarily a right-wing thing, because the right just wants to get into your business in different ways. So I do definitely lean right, I think, but I'm not right-wing. So I want to be like as factual as possible. So like if there genuinely is more actual political violence on the right, I don't want to be wrong about that. But the fact of the matter is I don't think I am when I say there's not more right-wing violence than left-wing violence. And that is not to say there isn't right-wing motivated violence. Of course there is. You know, violence is motivated by all kinds of fucking things, including right-wing political ideology. But there's certainly not more of it. And I just want to go through a list of these here. Okay, this is just in the last 1 month. 1 fucking month. Okay? Subway killing, August 22nd, North Carolina. Catholic school shooting, August 27th, Minneapolis. Okay? Obviously, Charlie Kirk on September 10th. The Fox News van bomb, where those dudes tried to plant a bomb that fortunately didn't go off. That was on 9/12 in Utah. The ABC station that got shot up on September 19th in California. RFK Jr. got a bomb threat same day, 19th of September, at his home. Also same day, terrorists threatened several stations owned by Sinclair Broadcasting Group, over 40 stations, same day, September 19th, if they dared play the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Then, next day, September 20th, guy goes onto a golf course in New Hampshire, screams "Free Palestine," and starts shooting at people. One person was dead. Then, just the other day, on the 24th, in Dallas, we've got an ICE shooting. That is on top of the fact that we've had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people, actual evidence, people celebrating a person's assassination, a political assassination, all over social media. Okay? This is just in the last month. This is just in the last 4 fucking weeks. All of those things happened. All of them motivated by left-wing ideology or left-wing protected ideology. And what do I mean by left-wing protected ideology? Right? What I mean is, because I do think there is maybe a slight line between standard left-wing ideology and some of the ideology that they claim under their umbrella, but that they don't necessarily agree with on a point-by-point basis. And what I'm talking about primarily is Islamic fundamentalists, right? Like, they claim the Muslim community and the right to be an Islamist and all these things under their larger left-wing umbrella. Although if you go point by point through the things that Islamists believe in, they would disagree with most of them. So, but it is still definitely left-wing adjacent ideology, because the left wing claims it and protects it as their own. So whenever somebody says, "Oh, Islamist terrorism is not left wing," is it though? Because it's the left wing that protects that ideology. It's the left wing that defends that ideology, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. So, I mean, by default, you're including it under your umbrella, your political left-wing ideological umbrella. I think that falls on you, right? Am I wrong about that?
For one of the most conservative and actually right-wing, society makeups in the world, man, the left sure does like protecting them.
They do. And I think if you're going to do that, and you have consistently, as an ideology, done that for decades now, I think you've claimed them. Because the right certainly doesn't claim Islamism, right? So it's certainly not a right-wing ideology. And the left protects that ideology. I say at that point, you've claimed it as part of your own. You've basically accepted that while you don't agree on a point-by-point basis with the ideology, you will defend and protect it to the point that even when it comes to the things that you find vehemently reprehensible about the ideology, if somebody speaks out about those specific things that you as a person of the left vehemently hate about that ideology, you will still call that person a fucking racist and a Nazi for speaking out about it. So yeah, I think if you're going to be the side that fucking protects it and defends it and runs around fucking, doing, holding up signs that say Free Palestine on a fucking college campus, you've adopted that ideology under the left-wing umbrella. Okay? Because it ain't the right that's defending that shit. The right is vehemently against Islamism. Like all aspects of the right. The right, moderate right, and even libertarians like myself are vehemently against Islamism. It is only the left that defends them in the United States. So, I'm sorry, but by default, you've accepted that as part of your fucking ideology. Okay? So, again, going back, those things that I just mentioned all just happened in the last month. And those are all things, all violent, politically motivated, most cases, terrorist acts that happened in the last month. Okay? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different things that happened in the last month that were terrorism from left-wing ideology. And again, that does not include all the people that got online by the tens of thousands to dance and sing and talk about how happy they were that Charlie Kirk was dead. Okay? So, that's just the last month. Now let's just go to some of the big ones here, going back longer than a month. Okay? Let's start with the Bernie Sanders supporter that tried to take out a third of the Republican Congress on a baseball field in 2017. Everybody remember that? Yeah. They call it the Scalia, not Scalia, is it Scalia? Whatever. They call it the incident about the one guy because he was the only one that got seriously injured. But that's only because the dude was a horrible fucking shot. He tried to take out everybody on that baseball field. Okay. Then let's go to March of 23. Okay. A couple years ago, Nashville, trans school shooting, Audrey Hale. Everybody remembers that? Yeah, of course. Pulse nightclub shooting. That was an Islamist dude going and shooting up a bunch of, and this is why I think the left is fucked up. Went up and shot up a gay nightclub in Florida. Islamist ideology, which as we've discussed, the left defends, the right doesn't, the left defends it, went in, boom. Okay? Then there's the shooting of Aaron Danielson. Now, you may not know that name. Maybe you do. If you don't, you know the situation. It's the dude in, was it Portland, I think, who fucking was wearing a Trump hat and got shot twice in the chest. Everybody remember that? Guys, the Antifa dudes, ran up.
Got ambushed on the side of the road. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Then we've got the Robert Yacht attacks. A lot of people don't remember this one. This one happened several times back in November of 24. Dude was going around attacking people that he thought were Trump supporters. Now, nobody died, but he was just violently attacking people until he finally got arrested. Then, of course, let's not forget the George Floyd Summer of Love riots. Over 13,000 violent incidents. Violent crimes happened during those riots. That wasn't right-wing ideology. That's left-wing ideology. Okay? Oh, but that's not all. Then we've got February 2015. Jonathan Leo Schrader. All right? Tried to sneak in some explosives. Tried to blow up some federal buildings. We got Michael Hagler. Okay? Same thing. Tried to go after some federal buildings and some local police stations with a machine gun. Casey Floyd back in 2016. Okay? Tried to blow up a police station. Didn't kill anybody. Ended up injuring a few people at a May Day protest. Then we got 2017, Vincent Armstrong. Okay? Went after cops. Okay? At a political event, a left-wing political event. Then we've got 2018, Vincent Armstrong, Elizabeth Lacron. Okay? They were planning terrorist attacks at a local bar. They were going to blow up a pipeline and go after some federal buildings. You got 2019 Daniel Hector McKinnon. Okay? He was, excuse me, trying to blow up a building. Couldn't figure out how to blow it up and was going to try and set it on fire. Couldn't figure out how to do that. So he ended up driving the vehicle into the building. This was a federal contracting building. He was a left-wing activist. And he was going after the federal government. This was still under the Trump administration. Same year, William Van Spronson, same thing. Went after law enforcement officers. Left-wing activist went after law enforcement officers with an AR. Okay. Then there's other things. Look at how the media and the left treated Daniel Penny. Do we remember Daniel Penny? The guy that stopped the fucking crazy dude on the subway in New York. Was it last year? Or maybe it was the year before now at this point. Maybe that was 23. Look how they treated him for stopping a crime. Then you go and you look at the vote that tried to get passed in Congress. This is a few days after, or maybe it was a week after the Charlie Kirk shooting. All they wanted, and I've read the fucking bill, okay? All they were trying to do was pass a resolution that said that collectively Congress disavowed violent political attacks. 57 Democrats wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. And then AOC got up and started talking shit about Charlie Kirk. Started repeating the lies about how he was a fucking racist and he wanted to stone gay people and all this other bullshit. Couldn't even fucking just say, you know what? We disavow this type of violence. We don't condone political violence. That's all they were asked to do. Couldn't fucking do that. And I posted a video about this yesterday. And I think that video explained it pretty well. There's a clear difference between right-wing extremism and left-wing extremism. In that, left-wing extremism is born out of mainstream left-wing ideology. Right-wing extremism is not born out of mainstream right-wing ideology. There is no mainstream right-wing ideology or politicians or political pundits or even your average voter that believes in Nazi ideals and values and hates people, you know, and wants to see people dead or see gay people stoned or anything like that. That is not a mainstream right-wing ideology. None of that shit is. So when people on the right do crazy shit because of racism or whatever, they're doing it outside of the mainstream right-wing ideology, right? When people do crazy shit on the left because they believe in trans rights or abortion or whatever the fuck it is, they're doing it based on what literally the people on the news and the people are saying in Congress. It is mainstream left-wing ideology that the average Democrat voter is fucking voting for. No, nobody on the right is voting for fucking Nazis. But people on the left are voting to let men be fucking pretending that they're women and getting changed in fucking women's spaces and getting naked around women and playing in women's sports and killing babies and doing all this other shit. That is something Democrat voters are voting for. And how do we know this? Because they literally fucking say it. They chant it. They go to protests about it. They talk about it all over social media. They talk about it on the news, cable news, network news. Every fucking, left-wing podcast talks about it. These attacks from the left emanate from fucking mainstream, well-known, voted upon ideology on the left. That is not how it works on the right. And that is a big fucking clear difference between the two. Big fucking difference. Let me get this super chat that I missed from Dino. I'm sorry, Dino. I was kind of on a roll there. He says, it's because the left label violence right-wing. They label both of Trump assassination attempts right-wing. Yes, they did. The Minnesota shooting right-wing. The shooting of Republicans in Congress right-wing. I remember that. They tried to say that Bernie Sanders supporter was right-wing. It's fucking crazy, dude. It's fucking crazy. So anyway, what were you going to say, Jelly?
No, that was a hiccup.
Oh, that was a hiccup. Okay. I want to go over some stuff here. So, last couple weeks, lots and lots and lots of people talking about all the right-wing violence that happens and how it far outweighs left-wing violence. Now, there's been two main sources for this. Okay? One is a Cato Institute study that was done. This is the one that a lot of people are fucking citing, okay? And that is this study right here. This is straight from Cato Institute's website, okay? And basically, this one says that 54% of politically motivated terrorism since 2020 is right-wing, okay? This is their study. I've got the thing pulled up. You can see it right here. Okay? This whole thing goes through all the charts, left versus right, how many incidents, how many deaths, how many crimes that didn't result in death, all that kind of stuff. But basically the numbers bear out to 54%, okay, are supposedly right-wing. All right? Okay. Well, where do they get those numbers from? Where does the Cato Institute, this study that has been quoted over and over and over again in the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, whatever the fuck it's been now at this point, where do they get their numbers from? Well, it says methodology and sources are available here. Oh, okay. Well, then let's take a look at that, shall we? And let's see what that is. Oh, this is from their own study, okay? Their own study from March of 2025, so a few months old now, called Terrorism and Immigration, 50 Years of Foreign-Born Terrorism on U.S. Soil, 1975 to 2024. What? So I read that and I thought, well, wait, foreign-born terrorism, that doesn't make sense. If their other study over here is talking about U.S. right versus left terrorism, why are they saying they got all their methodology and sources from this study? Well, then I went back and reread this whole thing, and while they portray it in its kind of presence as though it is covering all things that happen in the United States, the fact of the matter is it's not. It's only covering foreign-born terrorism. So this study that everybody's been quoting to talk about left-wing versus right-wing violence in the United States isn't even referring to anybody that was actually born here in the United States as a U.S. citizen. It's talking about people that immigrated here or came here in some way, shape, or form, whether legally or illegally, and the acts of violence and terrorism they've committed. And it also covers 9/11 in this study, which is odd considering you're talking about left versus right. And in this article, you're portraying it as though it is, when people read this article, you wouldn't know. There's nothing in this article that says, oh, by the way, we're just talking about people who came here who weren't originally U.S. citizens. There's nothing in this article that says that, which of course is what people are portraying this as meaning, because they're talking about like homegrown right-wing terrorism, right? This article doesn't even fucking talk about that. There's nothing homegrown about any of the numbers they're fucking quoting in this fucking study. It is all about people that either came here legally or illegally from other fucking countries. That is the entire source of everything they put that bullshit study together with. And what is quote unquote right-wing violence that was imported in from other countries? Well, guess what? The study doesn't really break it down. So we don't even know what the fuck they mean by right-wing violence. They don't even fucking explain it. They do go to the trouble to explain whether or not people were here as a tourist or a student or a lawful permanent resident or a K-1 fiance, or they sought asylum, or they were a refugee, or they were illegal, or blah, 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 blah. But they don't tell you what the fucking difference between right and left wing is if it's coming from another fucking country, which, let's be honest, is not the same as right and left wing here in the United States. So we don't even know what they are claiming is quote unquote right wing. Yet they will sit here and spout this fucking stat out right here that 54% of all terroristic violence is right wing, which is absolute fucking bullshit. It's all fucking bullshit. They go into a deep dive on 9/11. Great. What does 9/11 have to do with the type of terrorism we're talking about here? We're talking about modern right versus left in this country. 9/11 has nothing to do with that, but yet they use it to pad their fucking numbers in this fucking thing. This is just all straight up numbers bullshit. This is made up fucking shit that they're using to beat people over the heads with to convince people that right-wing violence is far more predominant than left-wing violence, when the answer is no, it's fucking not. Because they don't have anything in this study that every major news network out there is fucking portraying as gospel. There's nothing in this study that talks about homegrown political violence, people that were born and raised here, people that have traditional right or left-wing values and ideologies because they are from the United States. There's nothing about it in here at all.
You know, I remember in one of my political science classes, we were talking about world leaders, and we were trying to make a spectrum of like left to right. And, you know, the far sides were pretty easy, like far, far, far right. You know, you could put somebody, or like far, far, far left, you could put somebody, but the middle was hard. I had one, when we were trying to do the middle, someone said, whoever the current, like, I guess maybe Chancellor of Germany was. What was her name back in like 2015, 2016?
Was it Merkel?
Merkel. Angela Merkel. They're like, she's pretty center. I'm like,
Angela Merkel.
She's like, she's pretty center. I was like, how is she center? She's very left.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, as a nation, America is very right compared to the rest of the world. So when these studies come out, I'm very curious, where are they drawing the line? Is it American perceptions of right and left, or more like European views, where like if you're not basically a socialist, you're right wing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Y'all want to see the other study that's been quoted time and time and time and time and time again?
Oh,
And
while you're pulling that up,
one's the Center for Strategic and International Studies. This is the other study that's been quoted. Now this one's older, so it's been quoted for a lot longer than that other one they just slapped together right after the Charlie Kirk shooting, which got all its information from one that's now 6-7 months old that had nothing to do with it. This study here, let me make sure it's got the graphs and stuff in it. Yeah, I think it does. So this is the one, and this plays into what you were talking about earlier, where they're quoting right wing is way higher, right? Right wing, 112 victims killed versus left wing, 13 victims killed. Okay, well, where do you get your fucking numbers? So you scroll up here. If I can fucking find it. Is this the right one? Or this may be the one that's based off the other one I looked at, maybe. Because it all comes from one fucking study. Where is it? Got mother... Okay, no, it's this one. Sorry. This is the ADL one that's showing the breakdown of that other study. Okay. Where do they get those numbers from? So domestic extreme-related killings in the U.S. by perpetrator affiliation. Most of the extremist-related murders were committed by white supremacists. White supremacy, 62%. Good Lord. Right-wing extremists are responsible for the great majority of extremist-related murder over the last decade. Oh my God, 76%. That's crazy. Okay? It's crazy. What is this? 3 out of 4 killings committed by right-wing extremists in the U.S. are committed by white supremacists by 75%. That's all crazy. Except when you start to look at these really, really small letters under here, right? Really small letters. What does it say under each one of these? It's the same thing under each one of them. Note, total deaths include both ideological and non-ideological related killings.
I would think to be politically motivated, there'd have to be some kind of ideology.
You would think so, right?
That's kind of the definition of terrorism, is acts of violence
is
in the pursuit of some kind of ideology or goal.
Yeah, it's weird that they put that in really, really small letters under all of these. And then, let's see if I can find it here. I'm trying to go through all this. Well, they break it down again. You know, how many people were killed, right wing, left wing. They do break out Islamic extremism and stuff like that. Where is
Which,
it?
if you add the Islamist extremists plus the left wing, you're equal with the right. So that argument really goes out the window.
Oh, well, yeah, because the Islamist fucking outweighs both sides by a lot. But, God damn it, where is it? It's in this study here somewhere. I got to find it. I went through this whole study, and I'm trying to find it because I want to show this. I don't want to just say it. I want to show you where it says it in their own fucking study. Killing, is it here? Oh, God damn it. I've got to find this. I'm going to find this. I wish I had broken this out so I could show. I'm trying to read as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Center extremism classifies all such murders, even those with unknown motive, as non-ideological. So we got the non-ideological ones. We just talked about that. God damn it. I wanted to get into this, and I'm trying to find it. I don't want to just. I mean, I know the numbers on it. Hold on. We're gonna do something here. I'm just gonna see if I can find it here. Basically, if I can find it, basically what it breaks down to, which is playing into exactly what you said earlier, is that more than half of all these quote unquote politically motivated, although now we know not all of them are politically motivated, killings that take place happen in prison. Well, wait a minute. How are you throwing prison deaths in with the way you're portraying this, which is politically motivated, ideological terrorism? It's fucking prison.
It's just gang warfare. Like,
yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's prison gang warfare. And again, it also doesn't break out the fact that a lot of times, since most of the deaths are happening in prison, the people they're killing are other white supremacists, because there are multiple white supremacist gangs in these prisons. So it's not like they're killing. It's not like the whole thing breaks down. No matter how you fucking look at it, the whole thing breaks down to they just play with the numbers and put out a premise and hope you won't look at where they got their information from. They lay the premise out, whether it's the ADL, whether it's the CSIS, whether it's the Cato Institute study. They all lay out this premise that right-wing violence is awful. But then you look at where they're getting their information, and you look at how they put the study together, and you find out, oh, well, they include non-ideological violent incidents. Oh, more than half of them happened in prison. Oh, yeah, this one whole study, we weren't even talking about anybody from the United States. But yet, then you wrote an article and portrayed it as though it was people from the United States. It's all fucking bullshit. There is not more extreme violence on the right than the left, period. There's no evidence of it whatsoever. Even their own fucking studies negate what they are trying to put out there as fact. The lies they are fucking telling. Their own studies. And they reference them. They have to. Because you can't just say something. You got to be like, oh, well, we got this from this study. And then they put it in a little teeny tiny link or put little teeny tiny wording under what they say, that if you actually pay attention and either click on the link or read the small print, you go, oh, well, this doesn't fucking mean anything then. Your entire study, your entire fucking premise is absolute fucking retarded bullshit. Here's the fact of the matter. There is far more political violence on the left than the right. Okay? I am putting that out there as a fucking fact because all evidence shows that. And what evidence am I talking about? Well, first of all, I'm talking about all the lack of evidence they have every time they say the right is more extreme and violent. There's no proof, even in their own fucking studies, that that's the case. And the proof we have on the left is everything we just sat here and talked about for the first few minutes of the chat, especially the multiple incidents of left-wing violence that have happened just in the last 4 fucking weeks. How do you read it any other way? There's no way to look at this. I'm looking at their own fucking studies here. And their own studies don't back up their premise.
You gotta wonder how these people get funding.
I don't know, George Soros? The Obamas? I have no idea where they're getting their fucking funding for this shit.
I forgot to mention, off topic, but when I tried to join the chat, I may have accidentally went into toy collectors chat.
Yeah, well, that's why I sent 2 links.
Yeah,
Because I sent the wrong link the first time.
I tried to scroll down to the very bottom, but I was driving, so I missed it a little bit. So I joined in, and they're like, "Hey, do you need to join Matt's chat?"
Yeah.
I don't know why they let me in and didn't just message me like, "Hey, wrong chat."
Yeah. No, they're good dudes. They're all good dudes.
Yeah, no, they're all super nice.
So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know where else to go with this other than it just factually. There's no other way to look at this other than the left is full of shit when they put this premise out there. And they are just, by all evidence you can see with your own fucking eyes, they are the more violent side, politically speaking. There's no other way to look at it. Say what you want. Keep lying about it if you want. That's what the left is going to do. They're going to keep lying about it. I saw a study that popped up, and I think it was one that was on Tim Pool's website, and I really wish I could remember what it was. But he put out a study that had been done, and it was a poll, I guess. So kind of a study, but a poll, where they went out and they polled people who identified as left-wing or Democrat voters. And I want to say it was done with like around 2,500 people. And they asked them, you know, do you think Charlie Kirk's killer was left-wing or right-wing? And only 10% thought the killer was left-wing. 90% of these people that were polled, average Democrat voters, 90% of them thought the shooter was some right-wing MAGA guy.
I cannot understand the people who think he was like a MAGA guy, because Charlie Kirk was like literally Trump's biggest supporter, borderline. Like, I can understand the people who thought, oh, he was like a far right guy who was like, he's not doing enough. You know, we don't like, you know, Trump is too milquetoast, or like is just using the right to get power.
Yeah.
Which is a criticism I've had of him, is like he just has placated to get in power.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But these people are fucking delusional. And I don't know if they're just watching Jimmy Kimmel, and maybe that's where they're getting all their fucking news from. You know what I mean? But I don't see how you can watch even a fraction of the information that has come out. And this has been not just national news. The Charlie Kirk assassination was worldwide news. And I don't know how you can even watch just an inkling of it and not know that the person that shot him was left-wing. I don't see how you get there. I really don't. It makes no fucking sense. Oh, here's another one here. You know, The Atlantic, that far-right website? That was a joke, by the way. The Atlantic is not far-right. Left-wing terrorism
now.
is
on the right of the country.
Well, yes, that's true.
The Pacific is far left.
That's true. But even they're putting this out. Left-wing terrorism is on the rise. People are on the left are very mad about this fucking article, by the way. Very, very upset. And basically it just goes through a lot of the stuff that we've already talked about, pointing out all the times that the left has gotten fucking really violent in recent years. And the left is not happy that one of their own is calling this shit out. So, but I mean, dude, it's so blatantly fucking obvious. If you do not see this, and I'm not saying anybody in the audience is like this, because I don't think I have anybody in the audience that would have these opinions. But if you are not seeing this, I don't know if you're just lying because you're trying to protect your side, or if you're genuinely like socially retarded. I don't know which it is. And by socially retarded, I am covering those people that are just so gone and dumb that they just listen to whatever fucking podcaster or Jimmy Kimmel tells them. Not because they're not intelligent people, in that if they actually absorb some information, they wouldn't be able to grasp it, but just people that don't bother to do any fucking research whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like, even base level. I'm not talking about going through all these fucking articles. You know what I mean? But I don't know, just turning on more than one news station, you know, to get some basic information about these things. So
what's that quote from Men in Black? A person is smart, rational. People are scared, stupid, and you know it.
Yep. That's true. It's always been true. And that is apolitical, by the way. That goes both.
Yeah, that's just everybody.
Yeah.
That's just society as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you know, if the masses are gonna, you know, listen to somebody who's the loudest voice right now, and for the past 2 decades it's been the left.
Yep. I don't know, man. There's another article I was looking up. The far left and political violence. There's tons of this information. The information is out there. You know? Like, it's there. It's in your face. And if you do just a little bit of cursory research, when an article's telling you, oh, we did a study and this is what we found. You know, I don't know. They will always put a link. This is where we got our methodology from. Just look at it. Click the fucking link. You know what I mean? Check the metadata on where they got their information from. Guarantee you, when you look at it, you'll be like, oh shit, what? Wait, how does this match what I just fucking read in this other article? Because that's what they do. They count on you not actually looking at anything in detail. They count on you primarily reading the title of the article, maybe getting a paragraph or two in, and then fucking, you know, having your ADHD kick in and fucking moving on. And then you go out and you, like a fucking dumbass, repeat that bullshit over and over and over again. That's what they fucking count on. Because that's exactly what's fucking happening. You know? This is a whole article I was reading. This is from back in 2021. Anarchist left-wing violent extremism in America. And this goes through a whole bunch of shit. And again, this is older. So this doesn't even count anything that's been happening, you know, since like the George Floyd riots and shit. You know what I mean? This is all pre that shit. And it talks about how and this was something I found interesting because I've seen before in other studies where they've classified some groups of right-wing terrorism as what do they call it? It's like an ASV or AVE, I think is what it's called. And they classify in some studies AVE under right-wing. But AVE is an actual like law enforcement definition. Okay? And it basically means anarchist violent extremism. And it is used by law enforcement specifically for left-wing extremism. It is a left-wing term, right? The idea of anarchism, right?
Yeah, that's
in the United States
to its ultimate extreme.
Yes, in the United States, the anarchist movement is left-wing. And this is a very specific term used by law enforcement, specifically the FBI, to mean a particular type of left-wing extremism, right? But then you look at some of these studies and they include AVE as right-wing violence. But it's not, because the people in those movements have left-wing ideology. So what's happening is these people are doing these studies going, oh, well, somebody believes in anarchy. That means they don't like the government. They must be right-wing. No, most of them are like full-blown fucking communist fucks. That's the vast majority of the AVE movement. But they'll include that as right-wing extremism. So it's just funny. If you actually look this shit up, it's all fucking here, man. Like it's just all here. on repeat. The information's out there. It's easy to fucking find, dude. Like, it really fucking is. It's really fucking easy to find this shit. But people don't want to look for it. People don't want to fucking know. They just want to blindly believe in their side. And defend their side. Even to the point of stupidity. And don't get me wrong, people on the right do that shit too. They sure do. Okay? But when we're talking specifically about this, when we're talking about left versus right, violent crime and violent extremism, it's on the left. And then don't even get me started. I tried to have this conversation, was it last week? I can't remember when it was. I think it was last week. With Yankee. And we went into a whole thing, and he said most violent crime is committed by people on the right. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? So I asked him, I was like, are you talking about specifically like extremist violence, like homegrown terrorism? Or are you talking about just people that, just people that are right wing? Yeah, that vote Republican, they commit more acts of violence. And he's like, no, yeah, just people that vote Republican, people that are on the right. And I was like, are you fucking retarded? What the fuck are you talking about? All the Democrat controlled cities are the ones with the most fucking violence. Like, it's just factually untrue that people who vote Republican are more violent and commit more violent crimes. It's just factually untrue.
You would have to break it down to a very specific subset. Like, if he made the claim, maybe like, more domestic violence cases, or the perpetrator is leans right wing,
and maybe that's true. I don't know.
And maybe that's true, but if you're just saying violent crimes in general, no.
Yeah, and or even if you want to say, you could maybe make the case that, okay, maybe you could say, okay, most violent crimes are committed by, I'm trying to think of a way to say this that would even be partially correct. Most violent crimes are committed by people who don't vote Democrat. I think you could factually say that, because of the fact that most of the people involved in violent crime are, in these Democrat cities, usually leans towards gang violence. That's the majority of violent crime is some sort of gang or drug violence. And those people primarily, because there's been studies done on this, a lot of times those people don't vote at all.
And so a lot of them are already felons and can't vote at all.
Vote. So you could, I guess, say, yeah, most of the violent crime is committed by people who don't vote Democrat. Now, that doesn't mean they do vote Republican. And that's also ignoring the fact that these are people that primarily live in Democrat-controlled strongholds. This is where most of the fucking violent crime happens. But even that's stretching it. Like, as you're saying it, like as I'm sitting there saying that, I'm having to like jump through mental hoops to get there. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, okay, they probably don't they probably didn't vote for Biden because they didn't fucking vote at all. But they live in an area that is controlled by the left. They're surrounded by left-wing ideology and policies. Most, if they themselves, the ones committing the crimes, don't fucking vote, their families probably do, and their families probably vote Democrat. And if they did vote, they probably would vote Democrat. But yeah, sure, you can make the argument that most violent crime is committed by people who don't vote Democrat, I guess. If you want to be very, very specific with your wording. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just such a... The entire thing, whether we are talking about just violent crime in general, whether we are talking about politically, ideologically motivated extremist violence, whether we are talking about just your average Republican voter or just your average Democrat voter, the fact of the matter is the vast majority of the violent crime happens on the left. The extremism, the regular, average, everyday drug and gang crime, robberies, all that, the vast majority of it happens on the left. The only place I can say that they might possibly be right about right-wing violence being higher, and I don't know because I haven't looked up the specific stats for this very specific piece of the pie, is maybe in prison. And that's if you count white supremacists as right-wing, which, by the way, look to fucking Richard Spencer. Okay? He is the thought leader of the fucking white supremacist movement in this country, and he is not right-wing. He's literally said that. I heard him in an interview with what's his name? The guy that does all the documentaries, got thrown in jail by the Obama administration for donating money to a college roommate for a political campaign. Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh D'Souza did an interview. I
wanted to say Kash Patel, and I was like, that's not right.
Dinesh D'Souza did an interview with Richard Spencer. I can't remember. It might have been in one of his documentaries, or it might have just been a one-off interview. I don't remember, but I remember watching this. And he was asking him about his political views. And again, Richard Spencer is like, he's high man on the fucking totem pole in the white supremacist movement in this country. And a lot of people, a lot of white supremacists have the exact same views he does. Most of his fucking, his views, his political opinions fall on the left. He's for a larger government controlling more aspects of people's lives. He's for universal health care. He's for higher taxes. In that interview, he said his favorite fucking president was Andrew Jackson. So again, if you want to say that white supremacists in prison commit the most violence, okay. That doesn't necessarily mean they're right-wing, though. Because white supremacy is an ideology unto itself. And it's an ideology that, despite what the left would have you believe, it is not an ideology that is defended by the right or Republicans. There may be some racist people on the right, and there may be some racist Republicans in Congress and the Senate and whatever else. However, white supremacy is not a mainstream defended ideology on the right. Everybody on the right has disavowed racists. Trump did it many times, even though they say he never did. Okay? The right publicly, right-wing voters, Republican politicians, they have disavowed white supremacy so many fucking times. It is not an ideology that is covered under the umbrella of right-wing ideology, the way that Islamism is covered under left-wing ideology. It is covered under the left-wing umbrella. They do defend it. So I don't know how you get around this shit. I really don't. The fact of the matter is, from all data and research and studies and just common sense, using your own fucking eyes to see what's going on, there's way more left-wing violence, and has been for years, than right-wing violence. End of story, dude. There's no other way to fucking look at this. I'll put it out there in the chat. Does anybody disagree with that? Given everything I've laid out here, everything you've been able to see with your own eyes that's going on in the world right now, these fucking studies, all the stuff going on, does anybody out there in the chat disagree? I'd love to have a conversation about it, because I don't see how you get there. By the way, Andrew P. is right. The original populist and progressive Democrats like Jackson, Wilson, FDR, and Harry Truman were white supremacists. Nazis were National Socialist Workers' Party. Yeah. Oh, the thing about the Nazi Party, and I don't want to get too much into it because this is a whole other fucking chat and conversation. It's really, really hard to. Anthony, that's a great. Yes, I will do a poll. Thank you, Anthony. Good point. It's really, really hard to sit there and by using modern 21st century American definitions for left and right to sit there and nail down what the Nazis were. Yes, they were the Democratic Socialists Party, but what did that mean for them? And when you actually look at them, honestly, they had mostly left-wing ideology and policies, at least by today's standards, by what we would view here in the United States in 2025 as left-wing policies. But they did have some right-wing policies as well. It was mostly left-wing, but there was some right-wing. There were some things that they had that we would consider more of a right-wing ideology. But most of it, probably about 80 to 90% of it, was 100% something that we in today's society would associate with the left. But it is a little bit difficult because, again, terms have changed and ideologies have changed. And also you're talking about European right and left versus American right and left, which are two different things. So I'm going to get this poll set up here.
If you ever look at any of those parties or groups and think that their names actually mean anything, just remember that North Korea is technically called the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Yes.
Which, did you know? So, side tangent, for my job, sometimes I help with our international shippings, and I'll do like the customs paperwork in a software called OneSource.
Yeah.
You can send stuff to North Korea. They're an option.
Yeah.
And it's listed as Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and then right under it is Republic of Korea. It doesn't say North and South Korea.
Yeah.
So people have made that mistake, including one of my coworkers. One time she said, I accidentally sent something to North Korea. Didn't go there, but...
Andrew P. says, Nazis were socially conservative, economic left. The old Dems were northern immigrants and southern plantation owners. FDR sent Japanese Americans in camps. Yeah, there were, and again, like I said, there were some policies that, like you point out there, Andrew, social policies that by today's standards we would consider conservative. But there were very few of them. They were definitely economically left, although it's kind of weird because the Nazis did believe, so they had this weird view of so they believed in private ownership of businesses, but only insofar as the private ownership of businesses served the government's ideology. So it was a weird thing. It was basically communism.
It's almost kind of how China works right now.
Yeah,
yes, there's free market and trade.
Yeah,
but
it's like,
if you get out of line.
You can own a company and do what you want as long as what you want is exactly what we say you want. It's
more like the mafia. It's like you do you just kick up 10% and we're fine.
Yeah, and don't do anything we disagree with because then we'll kill you.
Yeah.
It's weird, but yeah, I would say 80 to 90% of what the Nazis did would definitely be considered left wing, and what their ideologies were and their policies and the things they actually put into place on a governmental level was left wing. Like I said, there's a few things there that you could say was right wing. Usually it's tainted right wing ideology, but and the other big thing, here's the other thing that gets me about if we're speaking about that, Evil Mustache Man. Everybody's always like, oh, he did everything he did because he was a Christian. The fuck are you talking about? And they always bring up, oh, he was raised Catholic and baptized. And
so it's like 90% of Europe. Like,
what the fuck does that mean? First of all, when you're Catholic, you're baptized when you're a fucking infant. That had nothing to do with anything. Like, that's just something that's happened. And while I think when he was actually running for chancellor, right, in 30, when did he first run?
32, 33, something like that.
Like that. He purported to be, you know, a good Catholic or whatever, you know, to get voted in. Like, he then got into office.
That's what you do.
And did nothing at all that the Catholic Church agreed with. I mean,
they worked the same, and people like to say that they're like, oh, he had the blessing of the Catholic Church or the Vatican. I was like, okay, who was his ally during World War II, and where's Rome?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, Hitler was not a religious Christian. Like, he was raised Catholic because fucking half the people in Germany were at that time. But that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, let's be honest here. That's like when Donald Trump says he's religious, and when he came out back in like 2016 and was like, oh, I have so many Bibles. I have a room full of Bibles. People just send me Bibles. I love Bibles. You know what I mean?
I love the interview where they asked him what his favorite, I can't remember if it was book or verse, and his answer was just, it's so hard to pick. And I was like, just pick one. Just say John 3:16 if you can't come up with a real answer.
Yeah. Well, it's because nobody believes Donald Trump is actually religious. You know what I mean? Like, no. It's that level. Like, it's like if people came out and said, you know, oh, Trump is such a bad person and everything bad he does because he's a Christian. Like, motherfucker, he's not a Christian. Like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what he fucking says. Like, you know, like, nobody believes that Donald Trump is some fucking religious dude that's basing his fucking decisions on his fucking religion. And neither was Mustache Man, okay?
That's like if Putin, like, you know, some, you know, Eastern Orthodox priest, and he's just like, such respect for the Father and the Son. It's just like, sir, no, go away.
Yeah. It's just a stupid fucking argument. So anyway. All right, I'm gonna end the poll. Poll went of course, I'm surprised anybody in this audience said the right at all. But 11% of people did say right wing has more violence. 89% said left wing. So
I will give a caveat. I think the right wing is better at it.
I think the right wing is probably more successful when they do decide to fucking blow it up.
Because is the left wing just for the side that does the more violence? They're really incompetent at it. You think with all the practice they get better.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's a good thing they don't, but you know.
Yeah. I don't know, man, but we'll see. All right, look, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. That's it. We're going to wrap this one up for this evening. I'm going to do a geek chat tomorrow night. If anybody wants to hang out for that, jolly, of course you are invited. But we'll do that tomorrow. But I think that pretty much covers it today. At some point, I'll try to do a video condensing all this information that we talked about here for the last hour and 20 minutes into like a short video. I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do that, but I'll try and figure that out. Because I would like to put this information out there in like a much shorter form so that people can actually get it. Because I do think this is a lot of information. Even people who, like myself, don't believe the right is committing more acts of violence may not know about the Cato poll or the Cato study or the ADL study or the CSIS study or all this shit. You know what I mean? And it'd be nice if people knew that. So anyway, we're going to get out of here. We will see you guys next time. As always, deuces yo, shall not pee in the fridge. And hope you guys have a great day. Take it easy, guys.